this session, from the blockchain session, I'd like to call back Umar Christides, the CEO and founder for ArabNet, to take forward the next and the closing panel, which is all about uh, what is an ideal post-pandemic digital transformation strategy. Post-pandemic, I mean, yeah, some of us think that it might take another 3 years, it might take another 7 years. Well, yeah, pandemics, they do take long. Entering into the actual new normal, it does take long. So Umar will be accompanied by his panelist Tanveer Shah, the conference chairman, engineer Muhammad Ali Shahlan from Akara, the head of technology. We had a fascinating presentation from him on the topic of digital transformation governance. And I would also like to call from the UK, Ghaith Ghazi from Tableau. Ghaith is actually the regional vice president for Mediterranean, Middle East, and Africa region at Tableau. He brings a wealth of experience in the field of technology and digital transformation. So without any further ado, I would like to request all of my panel members to turn on their videos and that they can unmute themselves, and Umar can take the conversations forward. Over to you, Umar.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Fahad. And COVID has really had two major impacts. One is a rapid acceleration of digital transformation that was already in motion, and two, a increasing shift in the digital transformation strategy for those who didn't, or a change in focus. And so this is going to be really our topic today, and we'll start with thinking about, everybody's talking about the new normal. We're starting to see vaccine rates get quite high in many markets. In the United States, over 50%, and people are starting to behave back to normal again. What does this new normal look like? What do you believe it will look like? What I would say is, what are some keywords that you believe describe the new normal, and or trends that will shape work and business moving forward? And maybe we start with Tanveer, go around to Muhammad and Ghaith on this as an overarching starting question, and we can dive in further into some other topics. But we'll start with you, Tanveer, please.
Sure. So I firmly believe that the world has fundamentally changed. We have been remote working for the last 10 years. We have about 30 experts, all of them with 20 to 30 years experience. These are people you essentially cannot hire and pin down to a desk. So they've been working since 2009, July, when we launched our company. We've always worked remotely. Until a year back, it was always very odd. Where's your office? Where's your people? We need to see the buzz. So no, we bring value, we bring quality and content. We're bankers, for bankers, people who can get things moving in the finance industry. But people would still always hesitate. There would always be an awkwardness when someone would get into a Zoom call from London, another one from Bombay, and a third one from Singapore. It would just feel, is this your team all over the place? Aren't you here in the MENA markets? Aren't you here in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai? The last 1 year, I've seen a complete reversal. Earlier, it used to be that if you wanted to work remotely, you would have to go and request it. Now it's the other way around. If your client or employer wants you to come physically to the office, they need to explain it. So the default setting has become remote. Everyone's tasted it, everyone's experienced it. Having done it for over 10 years myself, I think this is where it should be for the practical nature of the technologies available today. If our grandfathers had the technology we have today, the practical people, they would have very naturally migrated.
Sure. I'm going to talk about this further, Tanveer, with everybody. It's going to be actually my next question. And I'm not sure that I agree with you completely, so I'm looking forward to that conversation. I think there is a lot of pushback today against remote work. But leaving remote work aside, what are some other keywords or trends that you think will make up this new normal?
Well, one is because people are in front of their laptops and computers, the essence of digitalization and acceptance of it has become really true. in every sense. Even bankers, for example, today are talking about a super app. They want to be the one place where everyone comes and then does things. So people want a platform kind of strategy. People want to be the hub, the center, the souk, if I will, or the town center. Everyone wants to be the town center. In the digital world, that language is super app, but that's historically been the thing, right? People want to live in the town center. People want to have shops in the town center. So this, I think, is becoming quite rapidly the thesis for all businesses. Everyone wants to be the center to begin with their industry and their city. But gradually, as you become big enough, you realize I need to own that space, or else someone else will own my space.
Great. So two things: remote work and platform business or super app, of kind of being the center, owning the space. Engineer Muhammad.
From my side, I think I need to talk about two other aspects actually to complement the picture. One aspect is from my background as working in the real estate sector, actually as a master developer. What we are seeing at what we are planning actually is we are talking about smart resilient cities. Smart resilient cities is where actually out of this pandemic, what we have planning and everyone is planning now is to have kind of districts that is immune against pandemics. So for example, in case you have built an area, this area will have its schools, it will have its offices, it will have its environment, it's everything. So you can work in this and you can close instead of closing cities. And you have full cities, full countries closing. Now we are talking, we can close up to district, so we can control. And this is coming actually as part of the smart city planning. This concept have been since a while actually, but now with COVID-19, it's becoming more and more there. And we are seeing a lot of countries now applying this, starting to apply. Of course, it's not fully applied, but because this will create, like, in case there is a new pandemic, and technology is helping us a lot in this, helping us because there is a lot of sensors we can put and a lot of activities that we can do. This is one aspect.
This is the concept of the 15-minute city that a lot of people are talking about. Everything walking distance, everything close by. Is kind of similar to what you're talking about?
Yes, this is how we, but also this city, this will be smart. So it's connected to other people. It's connected how you have a lot of technologies there to help you measure the biometrics, for example, and what you need. So it is a kind of complementing the picture from the smart city perspective, or smart district, or smart offices and areas. So this is one thing actually. And the other thing I want to talk is about the human machine interaction. What we see actually in this pandemic, and what we will see in the future, I continue to see, is that some tasks are done by machines today. For example, the testing for COVID-19, some vaccination, some cleaning is done by machines today. And this trend will continue actually, and we will see it past the pandemic. So this trend will continue, and everything will be smart. We have placing now sensors in everywhere. We are placing a lot of applications everywhere. So this is creating another part of the new normal that we will be working in. So these 2 points, maybe I will start with. Then after we will talk to another points, inshallah, in the discussion.
Wonderful. And I think this question of human machine, we'll also get a chance to dive into this a bit further. Ghaith, would love to hear your thoughts. We've heard so far remote work, platform business, smart resilient cities, human machine interactions. Thoughts on what the new normal means and looks like?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, there is no question that with COVID, the shift to digital transformation has been accelerated. And I think that's one of the first pillars. Now, digital transformation is a necessity for most organizations, and it's the difference between succeeding or being left out. But there are 4 other areas as well, and I agree with most panelists around work from anywhere. The shift to digital, we can see with that many businesses have found success actually in having that agile workforce. Whether we call it totally remote working or flexi working today, remote working is going to be the new norm. Work from anywhere you want. The second area is customer expectations have risen as well. I mean, that's also key, because if you think of the retailer today, us as customers, we expect to have everything in stock. Convenient delivery options, personalized customer experiences, and that 24/7, because why? We think of our mobile, and we need that with our finger tips. One area that I personally think that is going to grow is the virtual experience. And I think it's going to be set as the next big thing. But events like this specifically might be the future, actually, with acceleration of AR and VR experience, which I'm confident it will take a new heights as well. The fourth and most important element, and talking about the human element of that, is agility. Agility is going to be the winner in the new normal. So all the stuff they need in new skills to how to operate digitally, remotely, new training, and a new approach to succeed. So these are kind of the four areas that I see with the new normal.
Wonderful. And I think that's really given us a lot of great keywords as high-level picture on the new normal. Now, I think what I like already is that I don't agree with all of you about the new normal about work. And so this will be an interesting question that I have, which is how much will remote work really remain? Because while we are talking about remote work today, first of all, we're starting to see significant pushback against this from both employees and employers. Some employees, including tech companies, have started to say, we need you in the office. You need to have a reason for not being in the office. We're starting to see impact of decline of effectiveness of teams that are not at least spending some days in the office together. And one that I even read, which is even more stark, is who goes back to the office and who doesn't. So working women, moms, might choose not to go back, might not get promoted. Young men free from kids will go back because they're going to want to go back to work, and leading to further tensions. So first question, how much will remote work remain? And how can we make remote work or hybrid work more effective? And finally, how will this all factor into companies' digital transformation plans? So I know it's a lot of questions, but let's spend the next 5-7 minutes just talking about this concept of remote work. And Tanvir, you started us off with this. I'll start again with you on this topic. And I'm going to push back a little against you, play the devil's advocate, but really keen to hear your thoughts on this.
So if we look at 0 to 100 as 0 being completely everyone, 9 to 6 has to be a 9 to 5, be in the office, look at the boss, never leave before the boss leaves, kind of mindset that we were brought up in 20-25 years back when we started the career, to 100 being what happened for 6 months, right? Everyone was 100% at home. I don't believe it's going to be 0 or 100 anymore. So we've definitely moved past 0. So I think it will be somewhere in that 70-80 range for most companies. I'll share our policy. It's a
70-80 remote.
Yes, with 100 being fully remote, 6 months, everyone was at home.
Excellent.
I think it'll be in that 70-80 range. Some companies may need to be in the 30-40. It's their choice, but it's not going to go back to 0 or in that 0 to 10 space. So we have a simple policy. One is there will be people who need to be completely at home. If there is a practical reason for it, it will not be challenged. There may be those who prefer to come to an office environment, a professional environment, and they can perform better. That option is also given. So there is physical space available. There's 50% physical capacity available. Third very important point is actual work. So what we've realized is where there is trust to be built, there is still the human element, eye to eye, shake hands. You need to go and meet the relationship. So if it's a fresh new relationship, in the first sort of 3 to 6 months of that engagement, the more physical, the better. Once it goes into operational, if we're just doing operational conversations, it can be digital. So we're trying to take that middle 80%, right? First 20% or 10% of opening a relationship, building the trust, 70-80% of this doing the day-to-day, everyone knows what's needed to be done. Every meeting doesn't need to be physical. And then that end 10% where you're actually handing over, you're delivering some results. You need to see the person eye to eye saying, is he happy? Is he not happy? So we've kind of in our business done that, saying if it falls in those starting 10% trust building or end 10% handing over and delivering results, those need to be physical. The middle pieces, and this is much more relevant for markets like MENA, where Dubai is, most people work across 3 to 4 countries and are flying around. You don't need to fly each time. There has to be a conversation. A lot of flights can be avoided. A lot of people can spend time home with their families, kids, etc. So that's the kind of balance that we're trying to get to.
Great, and I like this. And actually, before I move on to the rest of our panelists, I'll ask you to raise your hands. What I'm going to ask is in options. If 100% virtual, 0% all in office, Tanvir is sitting around the 75%. I'm going to ask, since I think most of you will believe it's somewhere in the middle, raise your hand for either 75, 50%, or 25%. So I'll ask you, raise your hand if you think we're going to be at 75% remote, at 50% remote, at 25% remote. Okay, so 50% remote. I think
It's a minimum.
great. Let's talk about that a little bit, and then let's talk, because Asim also asked a question right now about making flexibility and work at home more effective. Let's talk about this. Why do you think 50%? And how are we going to make work at home or remote work more effective? People are abusing. Employers sometimes feel disconnected. They don't know how to monitor effectively. How do we make work from home more effective, measurable, and have clear KPIs? And so maybe we'll start with Mohammed, please, and then we'll go to Ghazi on this one.
Okay, if I take it actually, this is what we see actually. I'll start with the Gartner reports, actually, recent Gartner reports, that they said in the pandemic, in the COVID-19, or pre-pandemic, it was 29%, the remote workers. And now, after the pandemic, it's around 76% is becoming remote workers. So this is a Gartner report for recent what's going on. From my side, actually, from my experience, I used to work for a company called CETA, which is airline industry and information services for airline and systems. And for this service, we used to travel a lot. And we talk this company, it's like stuck in the airplane, because this is not the right acronym, but we use it in this way because we are traveling too much actually. And when travel, you will go into different cities. Now, for this kind of companies, actually, there will be no need actually for permanent offices. What will happen actually when you travel to any country, or when you are working, you can do from everywhere, because usually we used to have offices, but we don't spend any time actually in these offices. We are traveling around. Now we can do this from anywhere. So it's totally different for this kind of company. But today I'm working for a real estate developer, a master developer. And this master developer, the culture in here, you'll find that people love to come to office. They like to collaborate, to talk to each other. There's a lot of activities. Of course, here in Saudi Arabia, you are seeing massive changes in the infrastructure and government infrastructure related to real estate. But as well, actually, still some people like to come. So that's why I put it in the middle, how to do this. This is one point. The other point, which is interesting, and I want to talk about it, is the work style itself. The work style, because usually what happens before, you have workers and you have permanent time employees. Today, we are moving from the permanent time employees to what's called gig workers, or to what's called, we have a lot of contractors or something like this. And when I put, for example, my book about innovative contracting for digital transformation, and we did some statistics from the friends who are contributing to this book, we found that a lot of people aren't moving into this because, for example, when we are talking about smart city, we are talking about certain specific tasks that's done by certain people around the world, actually. So these people, actually, when you come to them, they don't want to be hired. They want to be just make the work and quit. And for them, they can do it remotely. So they will continue. And we have to see this is increasing. A lot of people are coming to be like gig workers. They don't want to be hired. As well, companies like us are not able to, we don't want to hire a person so that we can take 10% of his time for the effective work that he's doing, and the other remaining time it will be used for other works just to fill his time. So for this changing, actually, this situation is creating an opportunity for us so that we can engage with people in different stuff, and we can do this work with these resources, a lot of activities. So I think we are moving totally different, even that how we hire the people, how we do something. It's another story that we can talk about it, actually, because there is new tests for the new employees. There's a new contracting style, how you make contracts with the employees. So a lot of things are coming around this. And this is actually part of my discussion for next session, another conference, actually, but it's really interesting how we will handle remote workers, or not only remote workers, but gig workers who are temporary workers coming as volunteering, as crowd workers, as a lot of activities.
Great. And I think that this is certainly another layer of what we're saying, not only remote work, but the types of contracts, the gig economy. But you know, we have another question from the audience. I'm reading it here because I think it also is relevant. You know, please advise your views for banks, whether to adopt a work from home or work from office. As a customer, I found a tremendous disconnect between the banking staff and the call center with their customers. So here again, we're having people say, you know, remote work sounds really good in theory, but the first question is people are saying abuse and misuse. Second one saying the people on the phone don't understand me. The branch people understand me much better, or at least I hope I understood that question correctly. So how do we make this better, the service delivery better, the work from home better, more measurable? If you have some thoughts on this, Raif, also, please.
Yes, sure. I mean, thanks for that question. This is actually something we're very, very passionate about when we're talking about what's the new normal would look like. As a Salesforce, as you know, we announced work from anywhere, digital first. And that's just because we want to set up the example around that area. And I agree with Engineer Muhammad around the new normal is imminent, is going to happen. Is it a remote work totally? We don't know. It's philosophical debate. But there are 4 areas. And, you know, I want to go back to the importance of data in everything we do. We talked about work from anywhere, and post-pandemic digital transformation has been accelerated. I'm going to make a claim in here. Every digital transformation is a data transformation. And it starts by you unlocking your data, analyzing the data, and acting on that data. So if I think of the new normal, when people are working, whether it's flexi, remote, or some of them in the offices, there are 4 areas that I think every company should start looking at. First, assess the changing in landscape with agility. How do we analyze the scenarios with fast and powerful visual exploration to adjust business plans quickly, because there are a lot of things that are unexpected? That's very important. How do we incorporate data from anywhere? And I'm not talking about the data that you have in your data warehouse. I mean, I've been hearing Property Finder early as well. How do we get the external data, that's critical external data, to spot new risks and new opportunities? How do we empower everyone with that data? And that goes back to the human bit. How do we go and, you know, create a community that is passionate about looking at data, because they are changing the way they are working. It's not about gut feelings anymore. It's about fact-based decisions. So get data to insights, and most important, to action, to keep everyone in your organizations informed. And that goes back to the question around FinServe. I'm not an expert on FinServe, but I'm an expert on data, and to connect your call center with your corporate team or operation team, data is the best way to do it. And then the final thing is, how do I drive productivity? Drive productivity with AI built into the processes that I have. It's not an AI technology solution. It's AI is built in everything I have, because I want to get into prediction, I want to get recommendation, and I want to be more transparent with the intelligence and the information I have. So this is how I feel the best way to get back to work together, regardless where we are, with the use of data.
Great, thank you very much, Raif. And so, you know, continuing on this theme, we discussed working from home, but another thing that we've all been doing is shopping from home, banking from home, and doing every kind of service from home. And in this meanwhile, many entities that had a retail or physical store presence have started to shrink the number of store presence that they had. Now we're starting people return. I read a couple of days ago about the pent up billions of dollars of demand. They called it revenge spending in the article that I read. It was kind of amazing. And so my question today, for many of the entities that have a physical retail presence, how do you see this changing post-COVID? Are stores and branches going to come back quickly? Are they going to look different? And what strategies should companies pursue when it comes to that retail presence? And maybe again, we'll start with you, Tanvir, on this.
Sure. So I'll link this with the previous question that you asked about banks. Being a former banker, banks used to give horrible service before the pandemic. They gave horrible service during the pandemic, and largely they will continue to give horrible service after the pandemic. So I don't think we should blame the pandemic for digitalization for horrible services at banks. that's one of the reasons you've got such massive fintechs that are attracting customer interest. So the real issue is that digitalization hasn't been used right by banks. It should have helped augment the human rather than replace it. One example I will give very specific is Commercial Bank of Dubai, someone that we work with the leadership fairly closely, and this is public information. They have closed more than half their banks branches. They've closed half the bank's branches over the last 24 months. This is a 50-year-old government bank, and they were able to close their branches successfully and still double their customer base purely by being a digital first bank. Digital is their momentum, and they've doubled customers while halving the branch network. So it's doable if it's done right by the right people in the right way. Second point about revenge spending and people still wanting to be in physical spaces is definitely true. Another part of my life is I am a partner, 50% partner in Blue Triangle Capital, which is a real estate fund we have in India, regulated by the Indian regulators. We build hotels under that real estate fund. Our flagship hotel was closed for 6 months when India went through the pandemic, completely shut down, legally couldn't host guests. The day it opened, it was full. For the first month, we had almost 90% occupancy. People have taken to remote working. So it's about 100 kilometers from Bombay, which is the largest and commercial capital of India. People brought their laptops, their desks, etc., and relocated to the hotel for 20 days, 30 days at a stretch. They didn't need to. Anyone who can afford to stay in a 5-star hotel for 20 days has a nice home to live at. But there is this, I want to get out. So that is definitely happening. That's the reason I don't believe it will be a 100% remote working ever. Shouldn't be. People still need the human touch. You give them 6 months of isolation and they rush back. We had to push people out of the hotel. So we're like, guys, just take a break, take it easy. For the buffet, there's no sense. We'll deliver the food to your room. No, I want to be where everyone is. We want 50 people around in a closed room having a buffet together. Might not talk to each other, maybe on your phone, but I know there's a human being next to me, close by. So yes, there is going to be a continuous pendulum shift where no matter how much people try to push to 100% either way, there is going to be somewhere a need for human touch. So this revenge spend is going to happen, is continuing to happen, and we see it in the hospitality sector very, very actively.
Great. Ghaith, Muhammad, is there anything you'd like to add on this question?
From my side, I think I'm not to add too much because I'm not in retail, but what I think is everything is moving into the hybrid model actually. As we first we have our on-prem services for technology, and now we are going into cloud. So everything is moving into the hybrid model, and this is I think what will happen in retail. So it will depend how you want to see things. So back to you, Ghaith. Maybe you have.
I'm similar to you. I'm not an expert in that area, but we always talk to retailer, and the conversation is always: is it totally e-commerce? Is it totally digital, or is it in-person experience that we need to have with the retailer? And the answer is not or, is and. Is how do we continue to give that personalized experience digitally, but customers like us will always like to experience in-person shopping around the retailer. So how do we get both together? And there are specific areas that we can bring together, right? Around, unifying the order management. So the customer has one specific experience across all sales point, and then across all digital channels that when they are interacting with a specific retailer. But just to sum up on that one, is not or, is and.
Great. And so I feel like maybe my next question also is going to be a not or but and, but we're going to try to tease this out as well, because we're hearing a lot of we talked about human machine interfaces before. We're hearing a lot of hybrid models. Today, if I have $1 and I want to spend this dollar looking forward, should I be investing it in tech, or should I be investing it in people? And so I know I'm going to get hybrid answers from everybody. So instead, I'm going to ask this as, I'm going to say, if I have this dollar I invest $1 in machine, 75 cents, 50 cents, or 25 cents, right? And I'll ask you to raise your hand, and we're going to talk about how much to invest in tech. And then the inverse of that we'll know is humans. So is it the full dollar in tech? Raise your hand. 75 cents in tech. 50 cents in tech. 25 cents in tech. Okay. So actually we're leaning as a group to, if not 50-50, more investment in people than tech. And I think, Raif, you were the one who was most clear about the 25%. So I'll start with you on this. Why do you feel that we really need to be investing more in the human component?
Which is funny, right? Coming from technology vendor, I should pick up the 100% from tech.
No,
But,
I mean, I think for me it makes sense. That would have been my answer also, I think.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I'll give you the tableau stand into this. We believe that every successful organization is successful when it becomes data-driven organization. That's how we believe on it. However, technology platform is not the solution. I mean, bringing new technology and just set it up is not going to help you become more digital. It's not going to help you become more data-driven. It's not going to help you to succeed only. Now, of course, the technology platform is very important. You need a technology platform that lower barriers for entry for all your users and give power to all the users, whether they are advanced users or beginner users. But the most important part is what we call data culture. Building a culture requires people. We all know that the shift to digital, the shift to data, using the data is about having a culture of data. Start top down, but down from the bottom up is very important because you need to get your people very excited about how data can help them drive change in their behaviors. And that's where a passionate community, whether it's your own community within the organization or an external community, will make a huge difference. I think where you should really invest, you get the technology and you get that data culture built up, but to get both as successful as possible, you need a trusted methodology or a specific methodology. We call it the blueprint. Other organizations call it something different. That methodology should look with a trusted advisor, help you along the journey, and look at the key items that will help you bring your culture and technology together. So it's not a question, again, to your point earlier about hybrid. It's not a question, should I invest in technology and the technology does it all? Should I just go and help my people? I think Tanvir talked about the banks and they changed their people. It's bringing both together, but the culture is very important component. And investing in your people will be the best investment you're going to make.
Great. Mohammed, I would love to add your thoughts on this one as well, please.
Yeah, actually, yes. Companies are built by humans, actually. It's not built by machines or technology. So that's why every brilliant idea is coming out of what we are using when we are using technology for everything. We are using for smart cities, we are using for digital transformation journey. What we do is first we start from the challenge that we have in an organization. We start from this challenge. We see how this challenge can be handled. Is it can be handled by people, change management thing, transformation, or it can be managed by technology. In case it will bring we bring the technology that's needed, that's relevant, that will create a business case for us, a use case for us, a business case, and then that it will create the value. So for this technology, the other companies who are coming actually and bringing technology first, they will not succeed actually in delivering the expected value to their customers. So we start from an issue, and then we have our people to innovate and to think about it, how to resolve this thing based on technology. So this is like an interaction between machine and between technology and between people. And in case you don't have, and this is actually one big story about the digital transformation failures that we see, because some people will think that technology will come and it's a plug and play and just you will have it running. So for example, some people is bringing an ERP solution or any kind of solutions, then they think they can have the key in one shot without having input from their teams. And that's why a lot of projects failed, digital transformation projects failed because this reason. So in this, what we need to put inside the minds actually of the top people in every organization that you need as a top people. You need to be technology aware. You need to understand a lot of things, but for technology, but it's not technology that's creating the difference. It is how you utilize the technology. And when we go to, for example, to Kareem or Uber, for example, it's a platform issue. But how they utilized it to disrupt the taxi business, for example. When we talk, for example, Domino's Pizza, they have a very nice cases actually, how they utilize technology, for example, to enhance the taste of their foods. But the problem was to enhance the taste. And they could use technology so that everyone can utilize his apps to create a new pizza style. And in case it was nice, Domino's Pizza will pay him some money, or even they will hire him. So it's always how you generate the idea and how you invest. And one more thing is about in the people is changing. So we have to take care about our people in the company, how we train them, how we make them in a good culture, and how we build this infrastructure. Without building this, technology will not work. So that's why we need to spend a lot of money in, I will not say 25 because technology is expensive. So, but I will say it's between 25 and 50 to be spent on technology. But the other part will be on people side, how we manage the people side of the change and the transformation, I see.
Great, and I love how you put this in terms of looking at a case-by-case basis. Humans are doing problem solving and then bringing the tools needed to implement the solutions, but that humans are the main problem solvers here, and hence why their role is so critical. Tanveer, I'm mindful of our time. If you have some additional notes on this, and then I'm going to take a question quickly from our audience.
Let's go to the audience Q&A, please.
Okay, great. We have a question from Rima Al-Qahtani. She was agreeing on the fact that digital transformation is data transformation. And her question is, how is deep learning helping in enhancing and improving customer engagement? And Ghaith, I'm going to start with you as our data man here. How is deep learning helping in enhancing and improving customer engagement?
How is the what, sorry?
How is deep learning enhancing and improving customer engagement?
Deep learning in the technology, I would imagine.
Indeed. What she was saying, I agree on the fact that digital transformation is data-driven. And how is this data with, I guess, deep learning enhancing customer experience, customer engagement?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about the data transformation, if you start breaking it down into, okay, what is that data transformation? First biggest challenge that customer face is, how do I unlock the data? The study says that about each enterprise has about 900 different data sources, and one customer interaction take about 35 data sources. Okay, so how do I unlock the potential of all this data and information? So that's number one stop when we're talking about data transformation. So that requires a platform that help you connect to all these data sources, but you might also look at API-led approach, that you can use these APIs in different places and bring all this data together. Once you bring all this data together, we need to spend some time analyzing this data and information. I mean, what's data without analyzing it? So how do you analyze it effectively in a way that is readable? But when you are analyzing the data, it requires as well maybe integration with R, maybe some advanced sort of analytics that you are doing with different platform, bringing external data sources as well, and then analyzing all this information in an easy way. Most people, business users, are responsible for data. We don't know coding. We need a platform that help us connect and analyze really quickly. So we need to spend also some time in what's the best way to analyze this data. How do we read it? How do we prepare it? And that's another key area. Once you unlock and prepare and analyze, the most important thing, which people usually don't do, they focus on the reporting part and the dashboard part, is acting on this data. Acting on this data is bringing AI-led approach into that solution, perhaps. Or with the guided analytics that you are doing, it will help you identify the next 1 or 2 action. And that's where the human becomes very important, because the technology is helping us with the prediction and recommendation, but the human in the end will make the decision on what's the best way. So if you think about your learning cycle throughout the process, we are bringing a new concept into the market around business science, away from data science. Data science was all about how do I work with the R, how do I work with all this complex sort of information? How do we bring that to the usual user, us, so you can do all this advanced analytics with ease? And that's a key area of learning as well. And that's where we should invest time in teaching our people.
Great.
I hope that answered the question, Rima, by the way.
And I'm going to open the same question to Tanveer and Muhammad, but I'm also going to add, because this is going to be my last question, which is, today a lot of companies see the massive activity going on in startups and innovation. And so my last question would be, looking at the new normal, what would be your piece of advice for companies that are looking to be part of this or capture some of the opportunities around innovation? Right. And so I'll go to Muhammad first, if you'd like to add anything on the data, and then maybe your advice for companies around innovation, and then we'll go to you, Tanveer.
Yeah, for this, I just add two, three things. Actually, this data issue is really a key issue, because what we see actually, we have a lot of smart cities now running on data actually, and it's creating a lot of value. For example, what we see from smart parking, that instead of you are moving around to get a parking, that there's new applications or something that you can park somewhere. It's the same for traffic lights, for a lot of things. So we have actually a lot of measures and a lot of key performance indicators for smart cities on how they utilize the data they are collecting to enhance the style and the people. So it's really a key issue. The other point is about how we utilize, I think my previous session was about digital transformation governance. So in here, actually, when we are talking about innovation, we are talking agility, we are talking a lot about a lot of flexibility and terms and around things that everyone can has an input, then we need to have a solid governance framework to govern all these aspects so that we can generate a value and get value of it. Because we have what's called value deconstruction. We have a lot of values and we need to measure these values. Without governance, we might end up with a mess in a lot of aspects. So I feel governance is the key word for project management, as well for digital transformation and for innovation. So this is my input.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Tanveer, something to add on the data side, and then the innovation, thoughts on innovation.
Sure. One thing on the data side to move the needle is board level or leadership from the top, especially in large corporations. I'll give a quick example. CRDB is the largest bank in Tanzania. It has millions of customers, a large nation, hundreds of branches. They digitalized over the last 3 years. We've been working very closely with them. The request came from the chairman of the board. The chairman of the board said, I want to do this within 18 months. I want to go from very low percentage of digital transactions to 90% plus digital transactions. And it was executed. Largest bank, a lot of government influence, large nation. Africa, again, some of these sub-Saharan African countries do not have penetration of mobile phones like you have in Western markets or even in the GCC. But they were able to do it because it was from the top. There was no struggle. It was an emphasis from the leadership saying we need to move digital and we need to have data-based decision making. So as Gayat also mentioned, I think the world is moving to data-based decisioning and data-based businesses. If the leadership believes in it, it can be done very quickly. One quick advice would be definitely for, and I'm reading the questions as well, we tackled this earlier, is to avoid failures or to have more successes, is to do small, quick, easy projects. Historically, and especially in the GCC with a lot of liquidity and capital, there's always been, okay, let's put $20 million behind it. Let's hire 50 people. Let's do a big bang project, big noise. The leadership of the nation will hear about it, will be in the newspapers. That's not the new way of doing things. The new way is you do simple things for specific segments, specific product. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you fail, you move on, you learn from it, apply it elsewhere. But this sort of mindset of mega projects, big egos, political leadership, that is not really conducive to doing digital and data, because there's so many pivoting moves. It just the chance of success is higher if it's small, manageable projects that you keep replicating very quickly.
Great, thank you, Tanvir. And Gaeth, I'll end with you if there's any thoughts that you'd like to add on the question of how companies can best capture innovation or foster innovation. Your advice on that front.
Yeah, again, I mean, sorry if I'm sound repeatable, but it's the combination of the technology, the right technology, and building the data community and the data culture, or building a culture within your organization of how to adopt the technology. And to do both as successfully as possible, you need a good methodology to help you along the way. We call it blueprint. Other organizations might call it differently, but that trusted advisor to help you bring your community, your people together with the technology is very important. So enforcing that education and learning culture within the organization, adopting the data is very, very important. And it doesn't have to be top down, by the way. I mean, to Engineer Muhammad's point earlier, people find the problem and they come and innovate and find the solution. If you find that and can back it up with fact-based information, that's great.
Great. So work on smaller projects, fail quickly if you need to, but learn quickly, build a culture of learning within the organization. I think these are some of the great insights. Gentlemen, I think this brings us to the end of our time. So I'll turn it back to Fahad. I appreciate you joining us today and sharing your thoughts with us. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Omar, if you allow me,
Thank you, Omar.
Omar, if you just allow me 1 minute. Actually, I see a question about what about the failure of digital transformation projects? And what I need to add in this is that we are aware about this as digital transformation people. We are aware that some projects will fail. So what we are doing today is we are having a kind of value deconstruction and value funding. Value funding and value deconstruction is that in case you have a project, you have to put a lot of checkpoints so that you can audit this project and you decide when to stop this project. And in case you stop any project, you can design this project so that it is designed to get value out of any component that you start with. So this is what we call the value deconstruction and value funding terms. You can find research about it. And this is a key for digital transformation projects to make sure that we don't lose a lot of investments in the digital transformation projects.
Great, thank you so much. And great insight on making sure that even when you build in small components, you'll be able to capture some of those wins, even if the bigger picture it doesn't get to exactly the objective you're looking for. Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. And Fahad, we turn it over to you.
Thank you, Umar. Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you, Gaeth. Thank you, Tanvir. I'll actually ask Tanvir to address his closing remarks before he passes on to me to discuss a few administration stuff. So over to you, Tanvir.
Sure. Thank you, Fahad, for hosting the past 2 days. An amazing lineup of speakers across both days. It was amazing to hear the keynote speaker, Ivan's, kick off the conversation yesterday morning. Several deep insights. If I just look at my notes and summarize some of these here. One is everyone continually spoke about investment. This is where people want to invest now. Yes, in the past, we invested in big offices and fancy cars for the leadership and staff, the support staff. The way forward is investing in digital infrastructure, data mining, data visualization, data analytics. This is where the value is going to get created. So investment, cost consciousness around technology, data, digitalization is now top of mind. That is what the leadership is talking about. Second point that came up is about failure, fear of failure, and avoiding failure. Chasing success in business, it was very important in the past to do big projects. You do a big project, you get in everyone's eyesight, everyone knows who you are, you're on the radar, and you get the mega projects and you become the big cheese in the industry, right? The surprising new way of doing things is small, quick, nimble. People almost do a double take saying, oh, where did that company come from? Where did Netflix come from? Who are they? How do they already have millions of subscribers? Before the competition even realizes that you exist, you already become fairly large at the grassroots level. So there's sort of a grassroots element to this whole digital game, right? It's on your mobile, it's that small. It's not necessarily the big billboards on the city center, etc. It is really small, quick, relevant to win. This is a big change for those of us who are in leadership. Most of us have 10 to 15 years or 20, 30 years of experience. We're in the past always looking for the big story, the big bang. Now it's really about relevant, just owning your space and then becoming the smartest guy in the room through that. Third point that came up repeatedly is finding talent. And within that, two themes that came quite recurringly is finding local talent, growing local talent. And second is female talent. Women have certain family responsibilities, and there is a sort of 2,000 or 3,000 year current that has been male oriented or male led, at least in the last 50 to 100 years of modern corporate life, has largely been male led. So if we want half the globe to be activated and half of our universe, our cities to be activated, we do need to bring women into the game. And women are making their voice heard in the AI ML world very, very actively. And one other fourth theme, which is the last theme that I'll talk of, is that everyone generally agreed that we are still in a space of disagreement. We do not have this sorted. If I talk of body language, culture, these things have been very well explored. There's a ton of information that you'll get on YouTube, which is relatively in one theme. People agree this type of body language is aggressive, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. But in digital, there is not one answer. It seems to be very personalized. There is no one size fits all. Different industries, different countries, different ecosystems. You need to personalize it for yourself. There isn't a single course that you take and then you come back saying, now I'm a digital expert. In 5 years, I've become a chief digital officer of a large corporation, which is a multi-billion-dollar unicorn. It doesn't work that way. It's very, very unique, very personalized. It's individual thumbprints, individual fingerprints. Everyone has their own story, their own way of looking at things, which is very different. 20, 30 years back, you'd go to the guru, the mentor, the industry leader. He'd give you his wisdom, and you come back. You go to Harvard. I'm a Harvard alum. You go to Harvard. You come back. You're a Harvard MBA. Everyone listens to you. In 10 years, 15 years, you're in the leadership. At 40, you retire. That's not really the way things are working today. Everything is very, very unique, very personalized, and that, I think, is how young men and women that are building their careers should be looking at it. Don't look for the right answers. Just do what is relevant for you, for your firm, for your society at this moment. So on that note, I will hand it over to Fahad for a wonderful 2 days of the MENA CDO Connect. Had a fantastic time. Look forward to many more such summits and many more such conversations. If anyone needs to reach me, my contact details are here, I think. Yeah, there they are. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you, Tanveer. Thank you, in fact, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for participating across yesterday and today. In fact, today I've noticed a lot of new faces, and it's good to see a lot of women are showing their interest in the field of digital and technology. Although, yes, if we look at the Middle East region, it's picking up, and it's picking up quite good. The videos of the webinar of the conference will be made available, will be shared with all the attendees and everyone who participated. And even the speaker presentations will also be made available. Do stay in touch. Follow biworld.com. Follow us on LinkedIn. Follow us on our social media, profiles as well. Stay in touch. Stay tuned. Have a good afternoon. Have a good day. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.